one to understand why this moment shocked the nation. We have to go back long before the courtroom filled with reporters and flashing cameras, before the judge's serious warning, and before the headlines spread across the country. Pam Bondi wasn't just anyone. She was once one of the most powerful and well-known figures in politics and law. Her name carried influence. When she spoke, people listened. When she appeared on television, her words often made news. Known for her strong confidence, sharp speeches, and polished public image, Pam Bondi built a reputation as a tough leader who stood for justice. Supporters admired her strength and determination. Many believed she was fearless and honest, someone who would never bend the rules. To a lot of people, she seemed untouchable. For years, she stood confidently in front of cameras, talking about justice, fairness, and accountability. She often reminded the public that no one should be above the law. Her speeches were powerful and convincing. She spoke about protecting everyday citizens. She spoke about fighting corruption, spoke about making sure the system worked for everyone. But while she was delivering these powerful messages, something very different was happening behind the scenes. Quietly, away from public view, things were starting to fall apart. Investigators had begun looking into certain decisions that didn't seem right. At first, it was just small details, a case that was suddenly dropped, evidence that wasn't followed up on, or complaints that were quickly dismissed. Most people didn't notice, but two experienced investigators. These were warning signs as they dug deeper. Those small concerns turned into serious red flags. Teams of investigators worked for months, and according to some sources, even for years, collecting information. They gathered thousands of documents, private emails, financial records, and witness statements. Each piece of evidence painted a clearer picture, and that picture was troubling. The accusations were serious and shocking. Prosecutors claimed that Pam Bondi had used her powerful position to protect certain wealthy and influential individuals. Instead of letting investigations continue, she allegedly stepped in and stopped them. They said important evidence was ignored. Some files were quietly closed without explanation. Others were delayed until they simply disappeared, according to the accusations. These actions helped powerful people avoid consequences, while everyday citizens were left without justice. Victims who were hoping for answers never got them. Cases that should have gone forward were suddenly buried. Investigators believed this wasn't a mistake. They believed it was a pattern of choices that always seemed to benefit the same group of powerful individuals. News of the investigation first became public. Pam Bondi immediately denied everything. She stood firm. She spoke confidently. She said the accusations were nothing more than a political attack. She claimed her opponents were trying to destroy her career. She accused the media of twisting facts and spreading lies. This is all false, she said again and again. For a while, many people believed her. Supporters defended her on social media. Some commentators said the investigation was unfair. Others claimed it was just politics. Pam Bondi continued appearing calm, strong, and in control, but behind the confident image, the evidence kept growing. More documents were discovered. Private emails raised serious questions about decisions that had been made. Bank records revealed financial connections that hadn't been explained. Phone messages suggested pressure had been placed on certain officials. Then came the insiders. Former coworkers. Former assistants. People who had once worked closely with Pam Bondi. One by one, they stepped forward. Some said they were told to stay quiet. Others said they were pressured to ignore important information. A few claimed they feared losing their jobs if they didn't follow certain instructions. Every new testimony added another layer to the case. Walls were closing in. What once sounded like rumors was now starting to look like real proof. Public opinion slowly began to change. People who once strongly supported her started asking questions. Why was there so much evidence? Why were so many people speaking out? Why did the same names keep appearing in the investigation? News coverage became more intense. Legal experts started discussing possible prison time. The story was no longer just about accusations. It was about consequences. Still, Pam Bondi continued to deny wrongdoing. She said she was confident the truth would come out. But by this point, the investigation had become too large to ignore. Finally, after months of reviewing evidence and preparing their case, prosecutors took action. Formal charges were filed. The case officially moved to court. This was no longer just an investigation behind closed doors. It was now a full legal battle in front of the nation. When the news broke, it sent shockwaves across the country. A powerful figure who once spoke about justice was now being accused of breaking the law herself. Crowds gathered outside the courthouse. Reporters followed every update. People watched closely, waiting to see what would happen next. What once seemed impossible was now real. Pam Bondi, the woman many believed was untouchable, was about to face a judge. And that is how this shocking moment in the courtroom came to be. A moment built on years of hidden actions. A moment shaped by evidence, witnesses, and a long investigation. A moment that stunned the nation and changed everything. No one expected the judge to say those words. The courtroom went silent. Cameras froze. And in that single moment, a powerful political figure realized her freedom was slipping away. Pam Bondi walked into court confident, but walked out facing the very real possibility of prison. What happened behind closed doors? What evidence shocked the nation? And why experts now say jail time may be inevitable? This is the story they never wanted you to hear. To understand why this moment shocked the nation, we have to go back far before the courtroom drama, before the flashing cameras, and before the judge's serious warning. Pam Bondi wasn't just anyone. She was once one of the most powerful and recognizable figures in politics and law. For years, her name carried weight. When she spoke, people listened. When she walked into a room, reporters rushed to get a quote. Known for her strong confidence, sharp speeches, and polished public image, Pam Bondi built a reputation as someone tough, fearless, and in control. Supporters admired her strength. Many believed she was a protector of justice, a woman who stood up for the law no matter who was involved. To many Americans, she seemed untouchable. For years, she stood in front of cameras talking about honesty, responsibility, and accountability. She often spoke about how no one should be above the law. Her words were powerful. Her message was clear. But while she was delivering speeches about justice, something very different was happening behind the scenes. Quietly, away from the public eye, investigators had started digging. At first, it was just small questions. A decision here, a missing document there, a case that suddenly disappeared without explanation. Most people didn't notice, but to trained investigators, the signs were troubling. Soon, small questions turned into serious concerns. Teams of investigators began working for months. Some insiders later said it went on for years. They gathered documents, emails, financial records, and witness statements. Every detail was carefully examined. The deeper they looked, the more disturbing things appeared. The accusations were serious and shocking, according to prosecutors. Pam Bondi had used her powerful position to protect certain wealthy and influential people. Instead of allowing investigations to move forward, she allegedly blocked them. In some cases, critical evidence was ignored. In others, files were quietly closed. There were claims that she helped powerful individuals avoid consequences while everyday citizens suffered. People who should have faced justice were suddenly free. Victims who were seeking answers were left in the dark. Investigators believed this wasn't a mistake, said it was a pattern of decisions that always seemed to benefit the same group of powerful people. When these allegations first became public, Pam Bondi immediately fought back. She went on television. She released statements. She spoke confidently, just as she always had. She called the entire situation a political attack, she said. Her enemies were trying to destroy her reputation. She accused the media of twisting facts and spreading lies. This is nothing but a smear campaign, she claimed. For a while, many people believed her. Supporters defended her online. Some news commentators said the accusations were exaggerated. Others argued it was just politics as usual. Pam Bondi continued, appearing strong, calm, and in control. But behind the confident image, the evidence kept growing. More documents surfaced. Private emails revealed conversations that raised serious questions. Bank records showed financial connections that hadn't been explained before. Phone messages suggested pressure had been placed on certain officials. Then came the insiders. Former co-workers, former assistants, people who had once worked closely with her. One by one, they stepped forward. Some said they were told to stay quiet. Others said they felt pressured to ignore important information. A few even claimed they feared losing their jobs if they didn't follow certain instructions. Each new testimony added another brick to the wall, closing in around Pam Bondi. The story was getting harder. Deny what once sounded like rumors now looked like a serious case. Public opinion slowly began to shift. People who once supported her started asking questions. Why were there so many documents? Why were so many witnesses speaking out? Why did the evidence keep pointing in the same direction? News headlines became more serious. Television shows discussed the growing investigation. Legal experts began saying this could lead to major consequences. Still, Pam Bondi continued to deny everything. She insisted she had done nothing wrong. She said she was confident the truth would come out. But by then, the investigation had grown too big to ignore. Finally, after months of preparation and review, prosecutors made their move. They officially filed charges. The case was headed to court. It was no longer just an investigation. It was now a full legal battle. When the news broke, it sent shockwaves across the country. Powerful figure who once spoke about justice was now being accused of breaking the law herself. People watched in disbelief as court dates were announced. Reporters gathered outside the courthouse. Crowds followed every update. What once seemed impossible was now real. Pam Bondi, the woman many thought was untouchable, was about to stand before a judge. And that was how this dramatic courtroom moment came to be. A moment built on years of hidden actions. A moment shaped by evidence, witnesses, and a long investigation. A moment that shocked the nation and changed everything. 2. As the trial progressed, it quickly became clear that this wasn't going to be an easy escape for Pam Bondi. From the very first days in court, prosecutors came prepared. They didn't rely on just one accusation or one witness. Instead, they carefully presented a detailed timeline, step by step, showing how certain decisions were made. who benefited from those decisions, and how those choices may have broken the law. Large screens in the courtroom displayed documents, emails, and records. Dates were highlighted, names were connected, money flows were traced. The prosecution walked the jury through everything slowly, making sure nothing was confusing. They explained how specific cases were suddenly dropped. They pointed out moments when critical evidence was ignored. They showed how certain powerful individuals walked away without consequences. With every new detail, the story became clearer. This wasn't random. It looked organized. It looked intentional. Then came the witnesses. One by one, people were called to the stand. Some were former co-workers. Others were officials who had been involved in investigations. A few were insiders who had seen what happened behind closed doors. Many of them spoke nervously. Some took deep breaths before answering questions, but their stories matched. They talked about pressure. They described meetings where decisions were made quietly. Some said they were told not to pursue certain cases. Others said they were instructed to ignore important evidence. A few witnesses even said they were warned to stay silent if they wanted to keep their jobs. The courtroom listened in complete silence. You could hear people breathing. Every word mattered. Each testimony added another piece to the puzzle, and with every piece, it became harder to deny what was happening. But the real shock came when the judge finally spoke openly about prison. This wasn't something judges usually do so early in a trial. Normally, they remain neutral and careful with their words. Of evidence and testimony, the judge addressed the court with a serious expression. His voice was calm, but firm. He explained that if the charges were proven, and so far the evidence appeared strong, prison time would be a real and serious possibility. The room froze. People looked at each other in disbelief. Reporters immediately started typing. Cameras zoomed in. Those words hit hard. This wasn't just a simple court case anymore. This was a case that could end with someone going behind bars. The judge made it clear that the court was taking this matter extremely seriously. He said that law must apply to everyone equally, no matter how powerful they once were. This wasn't just a warning, it was a signal, a clear signal that the days of easy escapes were over. It showed that the court was prepared to hold Pam Bondi fully accountable if the evidence continued in this direction. At that moment, everything changed. People in the courtroom noticed Pam Bondi's reaction. She shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Her hands tightened. Her breathing became quicker and more noticeable. The confident posture she once had was gone. Her face looked tense. Her lawyer leaned over and whispered urgently in her ear. No one could hear what was said, but the tone was serious. Pam Bondi nodded slowly, her eyes fixed on the judge, for the first time since the trial began. It looked like reality was truly sinking in. This wasn't just about bad headlines anymore. It wasn't just about public opinion. It wasn't about defending her reputation. This was about her freedom. The possibility of prison suddenly felt real. Before this moment, many believed she might find a way out. After all, she had power, connections, and top lawyers. But now, the judge's words suggested that none of that might matter. The law was moving forward, and it wasn't slowing down. As court sessions continued, the tension only grew. Every new witness added more pressure. Every new piece of evidence made the situation look worse. Supporters outside the courthouse began to grow quieter. Some no longer defended her so strongly. Meanwhile, those demanding justice grew louder. The trial had become a national focus. News channels ran updates all day. Legal experts debated what prison sentence could look like if she was convicted. People at home watched closely, shocked by how serious things had become. Inside the courtroom, Pam Bondi remained mostly silent, but her body language said, Everything. Gone was the confident smile. Gone was the relaxed attitude. Now there was worry, fear, and a clear understanding that she was facing something she couldn't control anymore. The judge's signal had changed the entire tone of the trial. What once seemed like a political fight now felt like a real criminal case. And for Pam Bondi, the message was clear. This was no longer about winning an argument. This was about whether she would walk free or walk into a prison cell. After the judge's powerful statement, everything about Pam Bondi changed. It was as if the reality of the situation suddenly hit her all at once. People sitting in the courtroom noticed it immediately. Her hands began to shake slightly as she rested them on the table in front of her. The confident posture she once held so proudly slowly disappeared. Her shoulders slumped, her head lowered. The strong and fearless image that once defined her seemed to fade right in front of everyone during breaks in the trial. Reporters rushed toward her, hoping to catch a reaction or hear a comment. But Pam Bondi avoided eye contact. She kept her eyes on the floor or straight ahead as she walked quickly past them. Security surrounded her as she moved through the hallways. She no longer smiled, she no longer spoke. Confidently, sources close to the courtroom later said she was visibly distressed. Some even described her behavior as panic. They said she looked overwhelmed. They said she seemed scared. They said she kept whispering urgently to her lawyers, asking questions, and shaking her head. It was clear that the judge's words about prison had shaken her deeply. Her legal team immediately went into action. They rushed to file new motions with the court, hoping to slow the case down. They asked for delays, claiming they needed more time to review evidence. They challenged the credibility of witnesses. They argued over technical legal details, hoping to weaken the prosecution's case. Every move was aimed at buying time. Every strategy was meant to create doubt. But the judge wasn't impressed. He listened carefully, but remained firm. He made it clear that the court would not allow unnecessary delays. This case will move forward, he stated strongly. His tone showed there would be no special treatment, no easy escape, no slowing things down. Just because the defendant was once powerful, the message was clear. Justice would not wait. Meanwhile, outside the courthouse, the scene was just as intense. Crowds gathered every day. Some people held signs demanding justice. Others held posters with messages about accountability. A few shouted questions as Pam Bondi entered and exited the building. Some supporters still showed up, hoping she would be cleared. But more and more people came to witness what felt like a historic moment. Many stood quietly, shocked to see such a powerful figure now facing the possibility of prison. For some, it was hard to believe. For others, it felt long overdue. Social media exploded with reactions. Videos of the judge's statement spread quickly. Across platforms, clips were shared millions of times. Hashtags related to the trial began trending within hours. People debated passionately online. Some defended Pam Bondi, but many more questioned her actions. Comments flooded in. If the evidence is real, she should face the consequences. No one should be above the law. Power shouldn't protect anyone from justice. Public opinion was clearly shifting. The woman who once seemed untouchable was now being viewed in a completely different light. People who had admired her before started rethinking their support. Some said they felt betrayed. Others said they were disappointed. Many admitted they never thought they would see this day. News channels ran constant coverage. Legal experts discussed the strength of the evidence. They analyzed the judge's words and what they could mean for the future. Most agreed that the case had taken a serious turn. The mention of prison wasn't just for show. It meant the court believed the charges were significant. Inside the courtroom, Pam Bondi's panic continued to grow. Every new piece of evidence added more pressure. Every witness testimony seemed to tighten the situation. Her lawyers worked non-stop, meeting late into the night, preparing new arguments. But the energy had changed. Before, there was confidence. Now, there was urgency and fear. Pam Bondi no longer looked like someone in control. She looked like someone realizing that the life she once knew might soon be over. The powerful career, the public influence, the comfortable lifestyle, all of it now hung in the balance. For the public, watching this moment felt like a turning point. A reminder that power does not always protect people forever. A reminder that the truth can come out, even after years. The story had gone from rumors to investigation, from investigation to trial, and now, from trial to the very real possibility of prison. The woman who once stood tall in front of cameras, talking about justice, was now fighting for her own freedom, and the nation watched closely as the walls continued to close in. Asterisk now. All eyes are on the upcoming court dates. Across the country, people are waiting to see what happens next. News channels are counting down to each hearing. Reporters continue to stand outside the courthouse every morning. Every update is breaking news, legal. Experts have been analyzing the judge's powerful words again and again. Most agree on one thing. The judge's statement was not casual. It was a serious warning in court. Judges usually avoid suggesting outcomes too early, but this time, the judge made it clear that prison was a very real possibility. Experts say this means the court believes the evidence presented so far is strong. If prosecutors continue building their case the way they have been, prison time could become unavoidable. Many legal analysts have said that once a judge speaks this directly, it often signals trouble ahead for the defendant. For Pam Bondi, the future now hangs in the balance. Every decision made in court could change her life forever if she is convicted. She could face years behind bars, not months, years. That would mean losing her freedom, losing her career, and losing everything she once worked for. Her powerful position would be gone. Her influence would disappear. Her reputation, once carefully built over decades, would be destroyed. Some experts say that even if she avoids the longest possible sentence, her public life may never recover. The world she once knew is already slipping away. But this case is about much more than just Pam Bondi. Too many people. It represents something bigger. It represents accountability. For years, many Americans have felt that powerful people often escape consequences, that those with money and influence can bend the rules, that justice isn't always equal. But this trial feels different. It feels like a moment where the system is finally standing firm, a moment where power might not be enough to avoid responsibility. No matter how influential someone once was, the law can still catch up. For many Americans, this moment feels historic. People are talking about it at work. They are discussing it online. Families are watching the news together. Some say they never thought they would see such a powerful figure facing prison. Others say it gives them hope that justice still matters, that accountability still exists, that no one is truly above the law. It has become more than a courtroom drama. It has become a symbol, a reminder that truth can surface, a reminder that actions can have consequences. As the trial continues, more developments are expected. New evidence may be introduced. Additional witnesses could take the stand. Some of them may reveal even more about what happened behind closed doors. Each new testimony could change the direction of the case. Each new piece of proof could push things closer to a final decision. And with every court session, the pressure grows. The media attention increases. Public interest rises, and the spotlight shines even brighter on Pam Bondi and her legal team. For Pam Bondi herself, the reality is impossible to ignore. That one moment in the courtroom when the judge openly spoke about prison has already changed everything. Before that, there was still hope of an easy escape. Hope that strong lawyers and powerful connections might protect her. But after those words, the situation became painfully real. She walked into court confident. She believed she could defend herself like she always had before. But she walked out facing something far more serious. The possibility of spending years in a prison cell. The possibility of losing her freedom forever. And now, the entire world is watching. Every move she makes, every decision the judge makes, every new piece of evidence. The story is far from over. But one thing is already certain. This trial has become a turning point. A moment that people will remember. Whether Pam Bondi is ultimately convicted or not. This case has already sent a powerful message. That even those at the highest levels can be questioned. That even the most influential figures can be held accountable. And that justice, though sometimes slow, can still move forward. As the next court dates approach, tension continues to build. No one knows exactly how it will end. But millions are waiting to find out. Because this isn't just about one person's fate. It's about what justice looks like in a world where power once seemed untouchable. Pam Bondi walked into court as a powerful figure. But she walked out facing the reality of a possible prison sentence. And now, the nation and the world are watching what happens next. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this, and hit the bell so you stay informed.